Hi guys, and welcome to a review of Haikyuu 217 Legs. And this chapter we focus solely on Hinata. I had kind of hoped we would get more of Kageyama or potentially Yamaguchi, but we didn't. We just get a lot more of Hinata, but this chapter was interesting. We have Hinata basically showcasing how good his observation skills are. We find out that Hinata not only is very dutiful when it comes to his ball boy activities when he cleans and gives all the players what they need, drinks, towels, whatever, but we also find out that he has now found a favorite spot to be, and he is currently obsessed with watching players from above. And I swear to God, I laughed for a solid minute when Hinata had that little smug face of his and he was like, "My current obsession is watching the players from here." I laughed so much. But yeah, watching the players from his favorite spot has improved his skills of observation drastically, that's what I wanted to say. And he ends up not only figuring out how different players work and how the players themselves could improve. For example, he has a kind of, I don't want to say conversation, but he's kind of thinking about how receive should be dealt with. So he sees that, I think it's Kunimi, who has the same kind of receives as Ushiwaka, and both of them, they move as little as they possibly can to not waste any movement when they receive the ball. But Hinata kind of reflects on this and is like, well, is that the best way you can receive the ball? There must be other ways. And the big one is that we have Hyakusawa, who is this 2-meter tall dude who is super inexperienced and is feeling like he is falling behind because he lacks experience, and he's not as good when it comes to technique, and he hasn't played the game for all that long, and I think at this point he's been playing for 7 months or something. So of course he's going to be less good at this game. They even say that he plays like a middle schooler, which of course is a huge critique for a high schooler who is supposedly good enough to be invited to this first year training camp. But Hinata encourages him and is like, well, you have this super amazing gift of being 2 meters tall. No matter how much people work, they can't just be 2 meters tall. But you can always improve on your receives, your spikes, your serves. You can improve on everything, but you have this gift of being 2 meters tall. And of course this encourages him, and a lot of people are like, why are you encouraging your enemy? And Hinata just has this perfect line where he says, "I want to be able to beat my opponents at their best." And I feel like that's all you need to know about Hinata as a person. He's very enthusiastic and he always wants to win a genuine win, so that he didn't just win, I feel like I've said that a lot, because their opponent weren't at their best, because their opponent were injured or held back or didn't have a way of reaching their full potential. Hinata wants to win when they're at their best, because if he does so, he will be the best. Because if you reach the top by beating opponents who are not as good as they could be, you aren't really the best, and that's what Hinata wants to be. On top of encouraging Yakuzawa, Hinata also gives some really good advice that he's able to give because he has been observing the players. So he steals some techniques from Kunimi, who they have been talking about a bit in this chapter, but I will come back to him. By saying that Hyakusawa, when he has the first touch of the ball, because you're allowed to touch the ball 3 times in volleyball, and the first touch is supposed to set up the, the toss. And if you set a really high ball, that gives you more time to kind of collect yourself. And in these 2-on-2 matches that they are having to improve, like flexibility and just the general movement, because when you're only 2 players, you have to move all the time. Having a high ball that gives you that 1 or 2 extra seconds, that gives you those 1 or 2 extra seconds to think and gather yourself, those are really important, and we see that this indeed works against Kunimi, who is this really smart player that Hinata stole this technique from. Now going back to Kunimi, they have, Hinata has a conversation with, what's his face? I forgot his name. But they have a conversation about Kunimi and how he is very laid back and he doesn't really go all out. So he doesn't chase the ball when he could have potentially saved it, and he's just not very passionate. And we've seen this from Kunimi a lot. Kageyama has always said that Kunimi is not a very enthusiastic player, and we know that this is because Kunimi saves his strength for the latter part of the match, as Hinata also says in this chapter. But even though that is a really smart plan, because then he has more energy than the other players have when the match is halfway done, it is still not good, because if he could potentially save more balls by going all in the first place, he wouldn't have to work as hard in the latter part because they would have more points. So that's also where the title of the chapter comes in, lax. Actually, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know what the hell that word meant when I first started the chapter, so I had to look it up. But basically what I got from it is that it means that you are not, you're being like reckless, or you're being not as strict as you should be. Which, again, it applies to Kunimi. They call him lax, and that's what he is, because he's very casual about everything. He doesn't like to get fired up. He doesn't like to give it his all. Which is very opposite of literally everyone on Karasuno at the moment. Tsukishima used to be like that, but he's not anymore. Which is why I think Kunimi will probably change his ways too, because Seijo, where Kunimi is at the moment, and will most likely stay for the entirety of the series, is Karasuno's greatest rival. And I feel like they will keep coming back to Karasuno, and they will keep having matches with them throughout these 3 years that we will be following them, because we will follow Karasuno for these 3 years. And we will see that both Kunimi and Kindaichi and the other players who are in the 3rd years who graduated, unfortunately, since Oikawa is such an amazing character. But yeah, we will see them improve drastically. I said that again. Drastically. All in all, not much happened in this chapter, but I feel like it was very satisfying to read. I would have wanted a bit more from some other characters that weren't Hinata, like main characters like Tsukishima or potentially Kageyama. But Tsuki had like one line in this chapter and some background faces. And Kageyama wasn't even mentioned, and we didn't see the Karasuno players, so I also feel like this chapter was really short. I mean, that might just be me, but I felt like it was really short. But then again, I wouldn't have wanted a really long chapter just about Hinata giving good advice. Yeah, I'd probably say it's just above average. The chapter's just above average. Damn, I'm fumbling so much. But yeah, that was what I had to say about this chapter. If you liked anything that I had to say, even though I rambled a lot, please give a thumbs up and leave in the comments below what you thought of the chapter, and subscribe to me if you want to see more of me. I also do reviews of Shokugeki no Soma and One Piece, so if you are into those, please subscribe, and until next time, bye!